So real quick, I just want to, as always, drop a reminder to subscribe. I'm really sorry for doing this at the beginning of every video. I do personally hate doing this at the beginning of every video, but I feel like this is just the best way to gain subscribers and that. So please remember to do so, because I'm making a lot of DC and Marvel videos and that. But yeah, a brand new episode of Flash, which this is technically the season 7 premiere. So we've moved on from the season 6 arc, and this is the beginning of a brand new arc for the show. The first new arc for the show in over a year, which is kind of insane. But yeah, it was actually a really good episode. I really enjoyed it, and it probably is my favorite episode of the season so far out of the 4 we've had. I know a lot of people absolutely loved episode 2, and episode 2 was definitely great, but I think I just like this episode more, honestly, and mainly because of Abra Kadabra. He is a really interesting and unique villain for the show. His first appearance back in season 3 was one of the best episodes of season 3, so it was really cool to see him come back in this, and he was more of the same really from what he was in season 3. A very fun character who even drops some little hints here and there about things coming later down the line for the show, which that's kind of, everything I wanted from his character, really. Obviously, though, and it's huge spoilers here, but obviously it looks like they killed him off. Now, whether he is actually dead or not remains to be seen. He is a wizard, he's a magician. He very well might not be dead. He might be faking his death to get away or something like that. But it looks like he's dead, which is a little bit disappointing because he really was a cool villain. He's only had 2 episodes. Did we really need to kill him off that quick? I'm not too sure about that, but then again, this is Flash. Characters come back all the time, so I'm assuming he's dead, but I'm gonna hope that he comes back at some point. But I also really liked how, just like with Eva, Barry was able to talk him down and actually kind of relate to his humanity and use that to talk him down. Actually very similar to how he beat him in season 3. You couldn't beat him, you just had to convince him not to destroy everything, and that's pretty much what happened here. Barry knew he couldn't beat him, so he just convinced him not to do what he was going to do, which was blow up Central City. So that was really cool. I also liked how he pretty much became, like, I'm not going to say a hero like Iris said, because he did kill a lot of people in this episode. Well, he killed 2 people in this episode that we saw, so that doesn't really make him a hero, Iris, but he definitely was not a full-on villain when Barry had talked to him, which was really cool. I enjoyed that as well. Also, his story was hugely tied to Crisis, which once again Flash is proving that it is the one show that is really committing to making Crisis be impactful and to making Crisis be such a huge event, including an antimatter bomb, which was very similar to all the stuff from Crisis. And this episode all around has dropped a whole lot of references. We had a reference to both Laurel and Mia. We had the Martian memory restorer thing return that Jean used to give everybody their memories back in that, and plus, like, did that look like the Omega symbol to anyone else when it was sitting upside down? I don't know why that looked too similar to the Omega symbol not to be. Maybe it's just because the Justice League's on everybody's minds at the moment that's why, but it seemed very similar to an Omega symbol. And the biggest reference of the episode to me was all the talk about Oliver, which I absolutely loved. And huge props to the Flash writers, because they are the one writer's room of all of these shows that is actually committing to constantly referencing Oliver, Arrow, and to making it known how much Oliver meant to Barry, because all of the other shows pretty much feel like they've forgotten Arrow or Oliver existed. Legends made a few tiny references here or there to Oliver last season just because of Sarah, but even then they weren't big or impactful. Every time Oliver gets brought up on this show, it's made clear that, him and Barry had a huge brotherly bond, and I absolutely love that the show does that. I appreciate that so much, because Arrow is my favorite TV show of all time. I have a huge connection to all of that, and they really have made it apparent that they feel the same way, that Arrow was such an important show, and that it really, Oliver's death affected this universe. He created so much good. So that was really good as well. And I liked even just Barry just telling Abra Kadabra his name was Oliver and he was a good guy and all that sort of stuff. So that was really good. Also, Argus came back, which is the first time we've seen Argus since last season, I believe. So it was good to see them again. Same uniforms and all that. I love the scene with Cisco talking with the possibly hologram, where he was like, I will not comment on if Argus uses holograms. That was such a weird scene, but I loved it. And honestly, that's just the comedy in this episode was great. In season 4 and season 5, I feel like the show did lean too far into the comedic elements, and not in a good way. They always kind of seemed like just weird jokes that didn't really fit. But in this episode, every now and then the show will do an episode where the comedy really fits, and the chemistry between all the actors and actresses is there to make the comedy work well. And this was one of those episodes. The season 5 premiere was actually another example of this, where I felt like the comedy done in the episodes was done very, very, very well, and the chemistry really made it work. And Chester and Cisco had some really nice moments in this episode, talking about the Star Wars, what Star Wars order they should watch, in like the machete order or the release order. That was a really good scene, and I want to see more of those two characters. But yeah, going back to Abracadabra for a second, just like in season 3, when he appeared, Abracadabra name dropped DeVoe to kind of like go, oh, you haven't come up against one of your greatest villains yet, Flash, DeVoe, which was always a hint for them. Actually, I can't remember if he said DeVoe or if he said the Thinker, but I think he said DeVoe back in season 3. Kind of to give a little hint or a tease about what the next villain is going to be. And something very similar happened in this episode, where Abra said that, oh, I'm doing you a favor, Flash, because now you're not going to have to come up against the Chronarch, which definitely feels like another hint, kind of very similar to the DeVoe hint, where it's the writers kind of teasing the next villain. I know that Godspeed is supposed to be a huge part of the first part of this season, and obviously we have the huge monster CGI woman, who's probably going to be some kind of an antagonist for the next while as well. But I do think the Chronarch is being teased as possibly the villain for the second half of the season, or for the next arc of the season after the first arc, or something like that. I'm actually not entirely sure who the Chronarch are. They didn't really ring any bells with me, but after doing a bit of digging around, I think that they're actually the kind of the rulers of the 64th century. So it really could have just been Abracadabra being like, oh, you're a time traveler, so you're gonna have to deal with them eventually. Or it's really possible that because of Barry's time travel from before, this could be another time travel related plot where the Chronarch are going after kind of rogue time travelers, and possibly Barry is considered a rogue time traveler or something, even though he hasn't really time traveled in a while. So it could be similar to that, which will be cool. I'm always a big fan of time travel plots, honestly. So I'd be really cool to see that. But speaking of that monster as well, have no idea who that is. I'm assuming that it's just somebody who got powers from the Speed Force storm that we saw. So that, I don't know, I'm always not crazy about big CGI characters. It's the same with King Shark, Gorilla Grodd. They're just, I much prefer kind of actual villains that, you know, have dialogue, that are talking, stuff like that. So I'm hoping that she's not a villain for too much of the first half of the season. I hope that we kind of move past her pretty quick. She's obviously very overpowered though, if you took the antimatter, or if she took the antimatter like that right into her and just was fine afterwards and killed Abracadabra possibly. So who knows. Caitlin and Killer Frost are now split. I have no idea where they're going with that, but I'm also not expecting that to last, just because, well, actually, you know what, they do the well stuff a lot where they've got more than one Wells on screen, so maybe they will make it last. Just to me, it seems like a lot of work to have two Caitlins around pretty much all the time. It seems like a lot of editing work and a lot of budget that they might not want to spend, but they do it with Wells, so maybe they'll do it with Caitlin as well, I'm not sure. But that's an interesting development anyway. I'm excited to see where that goes. Iris's storyline wasn't that great in my opinion. It was the one thing that during the episode that when we would switch to that, I would kind of be like, okay, can we get back to the other stuff? I thought the tie up the end of it was good, but the plot to get there was a little bit annoying. Like, Iris is being so mean to Allegra as well. Like, Allegra is out there helping the city, and Iris is like, no, I need you to look at my article. Like, come on, seriously. And speaking of that whole thing, the Central City Strong thing was a little bit weird as well. Central City Strong sounds like something Gorilla Grodd would say. It doesn't sound like something that people would say a lot. Like, Central City is strong, maybe, or I don't know, something. Not Central City Strong. That just sounds weird. It sounds like you're trying to say something without saying the amount of words needed to say it. So yeah, so just Central City Strong and Iris's stuff was kind of the only part of the episode I wasn't crazy about, and the weird monster CGI girl, but that served as a plot alright. Everything else though was really good. I really enjoyed it. I have high hopes for this season. I think it's going to be on par with the Bloodwork arc from season 6, hopefully, and if we're even luckier than that, hopefully on par with season 1 and 2. But it was a good episode, I really enjoyed it. But how did you feel about it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? And please remember to like, share, subscribe and all of that, and I hope you have a great day.